Welcome to the deep dive. Okay,
Oh,
let's unpack this. Because right now, roughly 87% of your workforce is cheering for a technology that they are, frankly, secretly terrified is going to replace them.
yeah, it's wild. And that cognitive dissonance, that is the entire ballgame right now. We aren't looking at some kind of technology failure here.
Right.
I mean, the large language models, the enterprise software, the integrations, they're all operating flawlessly for the most part.
Yeah.
What we are actually looking at is a massive systemic blind spot in how human beings relate to reality.
Especially when that reality just completely shifts under their feet. And that terrifying contradiction is the hidden reason your multi-million-dollar AI rollout is, well, it's probably stalling.
Exactly. It's stalling hard.
So today, we are diving deep into two incredibly provocative position papers from the Takasugi Research Institute, directed by Hitaka Takasugi.
Two really brilliant papers, yeah.
The first one is titled Why AI Transformation Stalls, and the second is The Science of Human Adaptation. And our mission for you, the listener, on this deep dive is pretty straightforward, but definitely ambitious.
Very ambitious.
We are going to decode the invisible psychological barrier that is stopping you, your team, and your whole organization from actually capturing value from this new tech. And we're going to unpack a rigorous framework you can use to master like any major professional disruption.
And I mean, we desperately need a new framework right now. If you look at the survey data that TRI compiled from thousands of organizations, we are caught in this bizarre productivity paradox.
Oh, it makes no sense on paper.
Right, because adoption rates are astronomical.
Yeah.
I mean, the stated enthusiasm is just off the charts. But across almost every single sector, the actual measurable transformation of how work gets done has just hit a brick wall.
Let's put those numbers on the table because they are just stark. Like I mentioned at the top, 87% of marketing professionals report being genuinely excited about the possibilities of AI.
It sounds great, right?
Yeah, it sounds amazing. But in the exact same survey pool, 57% report severe anxiety about what the technology means for their long-term relevance.
So you basically have people actively championing a tool that is giving them insomnia.
Yeah, exactly. And that should really force us to rethink how we measure, readiness in an organization.
Oh, totally. Because if half your workforce is operating in this state of low-grade existential dread, their cognitive bandwidth is already completely compromised.
They're tapped out before they even log in.
Exactly. But the data gets even more granular, which is fascinating. So nearly 60% of these professionals are using AI multiple times a week. They have the logins, right?
Right.
They're generating outputs. And yet fewer than 10% have captured measurable value across an entire end-to-end workflow.
Which is just crazy. I mean, it's the modern equivalent of buying a multi-million-dollar liquid-cooled supercomputer, putting it right on your desk, and exclusively using it to play solitaire.
That is a perfect analogy, yes.
Yeah. Like, you are technically utilizing the hardware, sure. The IT department can see your login activity on the dashboard. But you haven't altered your workflow whatsoever. You are just executing a legacy process on this shiny new interface.
And the Takasugi researchers summarize this perfectly. They write, and I'm quoting here, "The people are using the tool. The tool is not changing how the work gets done."
Wow.
Yeah. And that single sentence just completely invalidates decades of corporate assumptions. I mean, think about what a company normally does when they buy new enterprise software.
Oh, they just open the standard change management playbook.
Right, the classic playbook. You define a clear vision. You mandate comprehensive training modules for everyone.
Everyone has to do the modules.
Always. You align financial incentives or KPIs. You get the C-suite to record some enthusiastic video about the future of the company.
Complete with upbeat stock music.
Exactly. And then you deploy the software in these careful, phased rollouts.
And TRI is arguing that organizations are actually doing all of that correctly.
Yeah.
Like, the problem isn't that companies are getting sloppy with their change management.
No, not at all. The problem is that the playbook itself assumes a rational actor who is merely lacking information.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it assumes the barrier to adoption is purely procedural. Like, if an employee doesn't use the tool, the standard assumption is either they don't know how to use it or they don't know why they should use it.
But TRI's data proves both of those assumptions are false.
Entirely false. The workforce already knows the AI is useful. I mean, they have been trained on the prompting mechanics ad nauseum. The playbook has simply run out of road because it targets conscious behavior,
Right.
while the actual resistance they're facing is completely unconscious.
So the barrier is sitting, as TRI terms it, upstream of behavior.
Yes. That concept of upstream is so crucial to this whole paper. By the time a professional sits down at their keyboard, opens a chat interface, and decides what to type,
The outcome's already decided.
exactly. The success or failure of that interaction has already been determined by psychological factors that they aren't even consciously aware of.
Okay, let's test that theory. Because if the technology is perfect and the training is world-class, we really have to isolate the human variable here.
Right.
And TRI does this brilliantly with a case study they call the tale of the two marketers.
Oh, this is a phenomenal control scenario.
It really is. So we have two senior marketing directors at the exact same enterprise, same background, same responsibilities.
They are handed the exact same suite of generative AI tools.
Right. And they sit through the identical training seminars provided by the vendor. They receive the exact same mandate from their chief marketing officer, basically integrate this tech into your daily operations immediately.
So from a purely behavioral standpoint, the inputs are identical, meaning the outputs should be identical.
But they aren't.
No. The reality on the ground diverges almost instantly. So let's look at the internal environment of marketer A. When they hear the mandate from leadership, their nervous system interprets it not as an instruction, but as a threat to be managed.
And how does that threat response actually manifest on like a random Tuesday morning? Because obviously they aren't running out of the building screaming. I mean, they're professionals.
Right, they don't panic openly. Instead, they weaponize compliance.
Weaponize compliance. Wow.
Yeah. Marketer A wants to be seen doing the new thing, so they keep the AI window open on their second monitor. They use it to maybe summarize a PDF or generate a few generic subject lines for an email.
Just ticking the boxes.
Exactly. But their core output, the actual volume and quality of their strategic work, it only increases by a marginal percentage.
They are using the AI to do their old job 10% faster, rather than asking how the AI might eliminate the need for their old job entirely.
Yes. And the defining characteristic of marketer A reveals itself under pressure.
Oh, this is the kicker.
Right. The moment a deadline looms or maybe a campaign underperforms and the CEO demands answers, marketer A completely abandons the new tool.
They just drop it.
They snap right back to their old familiar patterns. They layer the AI so thinly on top of their workflow that it's essentially cosmetic. They're just surviving the rollout, not adapting to it.
Now, contrast that with marketer B. Same mandate, same training.
Yeah.
But marketer B treats the directive as an opening, like a space to discover what was previously impossible.
Yes. And because their internal interpretation is opening rather than threat, the behavioral symptoms are radically different. Marketer B experiments aggressively.
They aren't afraid to break things.
Exactly. They fail visibly. They push the tool until it hallucinates or just breaks down, but then they recover and iterate rapidly. Within weeks, the technology isn't a cosmetic layer for them. It is fundamentally woven into their cognitive process.
They aren't just writing copy faster. They are like running entire market simulations before they even write a single word. But wait, I have to push back here. Because the immediate cynical assumption, and frankly, the assumption I think most HR departments would make, is that marketer B is simply a more technical person.
Sure, that's the default assumption.
Right. So if orientation matters more than technical skill, are you suggesting a company should hire like an adaptable Luddite over an inflexible Python genius? I mean, how does that actually work in reality?
So TRI addresses that exact friction point. It sounds counterintuitive, but yes, in an era of rapid technological turnover, an adaptable novice is infinitely more valuable than an inflexible expert.
Really?
Absolutely. And TRI's data definitively controls for this technical background. In the study, marketer A and marketer B scored identically on technical aptitude tests prior to the rollout.
Wait, identically? So it is genuinely not a difference in skill at all?
Not at all. It is entirely about orientation. Marketer A's internal orientation is defensive. Marketer B's internal orientation is expansive. And here's the thing. You cannot train someone out of a defensive orientation by giving them a better user manual.
Right, because the manual is just facts.
Exactly. A manual operates on the level of information. A defensive orientation operates on the level of survival.
Which explains a really fascinating metric TRI uncovered regarding organizational trust. They found that organizations measuring high in genuine interpersonal trust between leadership and the workforce, they generate significantly higher enterprise value from their AI investments.
And that's regardless of the sophistication of their tech stack, which is wild.
Yeah, that finding totally dismantles a whole tech-first approach to transformation. You're saying an organization with high trust But older, maybe clunkier technology will systematically outperform an organization with a toxic culture and state-of-the-art AI.
Every single time.
Because in a high-trust environment, the employees don't view the new tool as a covert mechanism to lay them off.
Right.
They view it as a lever to help the collective win.
Yes. Orientation overrides infrastructure. Think about it. If an employee believes their value to the company is tied to a specific legacy process, any tool that automates that process is perceived as a predator.
Oh, man.
A predator. Their psychological immune system will literally attack the foreign code, effectively neutralizing the multi-million-dollar investment.
I really want to highlight that immune system metaphor because it gets to the absolute core of the Takasugi Research Institute's central theory in their second paper. We're shifting away from change management and into something they call ontological adaptation.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, TRI operates on the premise that behavioral change is fundamentally brittle.
Brittle, yeah.
If you just condition someone to perform a new habit like mandating they use a chatbot for initial research, that habit will only hold up when environmental conditions are stable.
Right, but the moment the budget is cut or the timeline shrinks, the behavior just collapses.
Because the underlying reality of the employee hasn't shifted at all, TRI argues that sustainable change requires ontological adaptation.
And ontology, for those who might not use that word every day, is the study of the nature of being, of reality itself.
Exactly. We aren't talking about updating what you do. We are talking about updating how you perceive the environment you are operating within.
Let's ground that for a second. So, if behavioral change is like changing the tires on a car, ontological adaptation is realizing you're actually supposed to be flying an airplane.
Yeah.
Like you can't just pedal harder or buy better tires. You have to change your entire relationship to gravity. The organization's psychological immune system is attacking the AI because it misidentifies it as a pathogen. You have to reprogram the psychological antibodies.
That is precisely what is happening. The standard corporate playbook is written by project managers who view the world as a linear sequence of processes.
Right, step A, step B.
But TRI's research draws heavily from clinical psychology and neuroscience. When a human being faces profound uncertainty, like a technology that literally mimics human cognition, the amygdala doesn't care about the company's ROI goals.
No, it definitely doesn't.
The autonomic nervous system simply contracts.
It prepares for impact, which perfectly explains that 87% excitement versus 57% anxiety contradiction we talked about.
Yes, exactly.
Like the workforce knows they should be excited. Consciously, they're saying all the right things in the surveys. But ontologically, down in their nervous system, they are bracing for a crash.
So if we accept that we cannot simply mandate adaptation and we clearly cannot train our way out of a survival reflex, we need a completely different mechanism.
And TRI provides a highly specific 3-step developmental sequence to actually achieve this deep psychological shift.
But they warn that the first step requires interacting with something that is completely invisible to most of us. Step 1 is developing what they call reflective agency.
Reflective agency. Okay, so to grasp that, we have to define what we are actually reflecting on.
Right. Every single person listening to this operates from an automatic internal model of reality.
Everybody has one.
Everyone. It is a complex web of deep assumptions about what is possible, what is dangerous, and what your specific value is in any given moment.
It is the operating system running quietly in the background, filtering every email, every meeting, and every software update before your conscious mind even registers it.
And TRI uses this hauntingly accurate phrase here. They say, people cannot see their own internal model for the same reason an eye cannot see itself.
Oh, I love that. You use your eyes to look out at the world. You are looking through the lens. But unless you have a mirror, you can never observe the instrument doing the looking.
Exactly. And if you cannot see the lens, you can never notice if it is cracked, distorted, or just completely outdated. Reflective agency is the capacity to step outside of that automatic model.
It is the crucial capability to find the mirror.
Right. It's the difference between reacting to a stimulus and observing your own reaction. So, moving from the statement, this new AI platform is a threat to my career, to the realization I am currently experiencing this new AI platform as a threat.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because that slight linguistic shift is actually a massive cognitive leap, isn't it?
Huge. It detaches your core identity from the automated emotion. It demotes the feeling of threat from being an objective fact about the world to just a subjective symptom of your current orientation.
Okay, intellectually that makes total sense.
Yeah.
But we need to explain the mechanics here for the listener.
Yeah.
How does a busy director of marketing actually catch themselves in the act of being defensive in real time?
It's hard.
I mean, how do you pause the gap between stimulus and response when you feel like you are under attack? It's like telling someone to stop flinching while a punch is actively being thrown at their face.
Right. It requires training a completely different set of muscles, specifically interoception, the ability to notice somatic markers in your own body.
Somatic markers, okay.
Because the feeling of threat doesn't start as a fully formed sentence in your prefrontal cortex. It starts as a physical sensation.
Like a tightening in the chest, a sudden spike in heart rate, or maybe a rush of heat to the face.
Exactly. Or even a sudden, overwhelming urge to be cynical or dismissive in a meeting.
Oh, man. We've all seen that.
Right. When a colleague proposes automating a workflow and you immediately roll your eyes and say, oh, that will never work here. That cynicism is a defense mechanism.
So reflective agency is noticing the physical tightness or that cynical urge and pausing just long enough to ask, wait, why did my system just deploy that defense?
Yes. Without that pause, the operating model remains invisible. And you can't revise an invisible framework. You just remain a victim of your own automated reflexes, exactly like marketer A.
They never pause to ask why they're trying to outrun a chatbot. They just run.
They just run. So reflective agency is the absolute prerequisite for adaptation. But TRI is quick to point out that simply seeing the invisible frame does not magically dismantle it.
Right. Because noticing you are terrified of a new workflow doesn't suddenly make you competent at it. You can be highly self-aware of your own panic attack while you are having it.
Which brings us to the second phase of the sequence, ontological intelligence. This is where the actual labor of adaptation occurs.
Once reflective agency exposes the assumption, ontological intelligence is the phase of rigorous, disciplined self-honesty.
TRI defines it as the capacity to examine an exposed assumption with genuine openness decoupled from historical trauma.
Decoupled.
You have to ask yourself whether a genuinely uncertain situation is actually dangerous in the present moment, or if your nervous system is just hallucinating a past threat.
Okay, give me a concrete example of that decoupling process. Let's make it real.
Okay, let's say you are a middle manager who survived a brutal round of corporate layoffs 10 years ago during the transition to cloud computing.
Okay.
Your body learned a very potent lesson back then. Technological shifts equal job loss and suffering. Your internal model updated to protect you from ever being caught off guard again.
Fast forward 10 years, the company announces a massive enterprise AI rollout.
Instantly, your internal alarm bells are deafening.
Yep.
Ontological intelligence is the discipline to sit with that fear, look at the actual facts on the ground, and ask, is my current role genuinely threatened by this specific tool today? Or is my nervous system playing a greatest hits compilation of a trauma from 2016?
Wow. And the TRI papers are very careful to distinguish this from the kind of toxic positivity we see in a lot of corporate culture.
No, absolutely. It is the complete antithesis of forced optimism.
Forced optimism is when leadership tells you to, embrace the change and smile through the disruption.
Which is just another form of avoidance. It is pasting a smiley face sticker over the flashing check engine light on your dashboard.
It's oppressive, yeah. Whereas ontological intelligence is investigative.
Yeah.
But okay, so what does this all mean for the listener? Let's play devil's advocate for the person who's managing a team, handling a brutal P&L, and staring down a packed calendar.
Sure.
If I have a critical product launch at 4 p.m., I don't have time to do a Vipassana retreat at my desk to interrogate my psychological antibodies every time IT updates my software. I mean, it sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting. And that pushback is entirely valid. But this raises an important question. We really must distinguish between minor environmental friction and structural paradigm shifts.
Oh, okay.
TRI isn't suggesting you psychoanalyze yourself because the company switched from Zoom to Teams.
Right, that's just a software update.
Exactly. We are talking about the advent of generative intelligence, a technology poised to restructure the fundamental definition of human knowledge work.
You can't just put your head down and wait for a paradigm shift to blow over.
No, you can't. The cost of not engaging in ontological intelligence during a paradigm shift is structural obsolescence. It takes immense cognitive energy to revise your internal model, sure, but it takes infinitely more energy to spend the next decade fighting a losing war against reality.
Yeah.
Ontological intelligence is the moment you stop defending your outdated model and willingly redesign it to match the new terrain.
You stop bracing for impact, and you learn the mechanics of the wave. That brings us to a critical transition point. Because let's say a professional does this deep work. They use reflective agency to spot their fear, and they use ontological intelligence to dismantle it. They sit in a quiet room and decide, I am no longer threatened. I am open to this new reality.
Well, that is a beautiful breakthrough, but it is entirely theoretical.
Right. It's a hypothesis tested in a vacuum. Because eventually the weekend ends and Monday morning arrives.
And chaos ensues.
The server crashes, a key vendor pulls out, the quarterly numbers are down, and the CEO is demanding answers on a Zoom call.
The environment turns hostile. And under hostility, the human organism defaults to its most entrenched conditioning.
Which leads to the final summit of the TRI framework, operational intelligence.
Operational intelligence is the ultimate deciding factor. It is the ability to act from your newly revised orientation in live interaction with a chaotic, changing reality.
So it's not just thinking about it, it's
Right.
doing it under fire.
Exactly. It is the capacity to maintain curiosity, flexibility, and commitment under the precise physiological stress that would normally trigger a full contraction into defense mode.
It is the difference between passing a written exam on fire safety while sitting in a climate-controlled classroom and actually having the presence of mind to find the emergency exit when the alarm is screaming and the hallway is filling with real smoke.
That's a great way to put it. And this is where the Takasugi Research Institute drops what I consider the most profound insight across both papers. They state unequivocally that an organizational AI transformation is not fundamentally a technology initiative.
Which is an incredibly bold claim, considering we were talking about the most sophisticated computational technology ever created by humans.
It is bold, but it's true. The technology is computational, the adaptation is entirely biological. TRI argues that adopting AI at scale is actually an operational intelligence initiative. When a company rolls out these tools, they aren't truly testing the software. They are stress testing the workforce's capacity for sustained, genuine adaptation under extreme pressure.
And what makes operational intelligence so fascinating is that it is entirely domain general.
Yes, that cannot be overstated. Operational intelligence is not a technical skill. It is not confined to coding or prompt engineering or digital marketing.
If we trace that logic, the exact same psychological capability that allows marketer B to keep iterating on a failing AI campaign while their boss is breathing down their neck, that is structurally identical to the capability required in entirely different high-stakes fields.
Exactly. TRI provides some really compelling parallels. It is the exact same internal mechanism a trauma surgeon relies on when a routine procedure suddenly goes wrong, the patient crashes, and the surgeon must abandon their initial plan to improvise a solution without panicking.
Right, or a military commander whose supply lines are cut. Or an Olympic gymnast who slips on their first tumbling pass and has to instantly recalculate their routine in front of millions of people.
The context changes, the domain changes, but the required internal orientation is identical. It is the general capacity for sustained intelligent adaptation amidst profound uncertainty.
And that is exactly what the AI era is demanding of the knowledge worker today. It is demanding that we step into a completely opaque future, abandon the legacy skills that built our careers, and somehow perform at an elite level while the ground shifts beneath us.
Which is why focusing purely on training the workforce on the mechanics of a specific large language model is just a fool's errand.
Yeah, because the model will change next month.
Exactly. The interface will evolve. If you only teach behavior, your workforce will be obsolete the moment the vendor releases an update.
You were just swapping out the tires on a car that needs to learn how to fly.
But if you cultivate operational intelligence, however, you are building a workforce that can absorb any technological shock, assess the new parameters, and instantly begin weaving the new reality into their operation.
Let's bring this all directly back to the listener. Think about your own daily interactions with whatever massive disruption is hitting your industry right now. Are you marketer A? Or are you marketer B?
Are you looking for ways to execute your legacy processes 10% faster so you can just check a box? Or are you actively looking for ways the new technology might render your legacy processes entirely irrelevant?
We started this deep dive looking at a massive puzzle. Why are organizations burning billions of dollars on AI initiatives, generating immense enthusiasm, but failing to capture actual ROI?
And we discovered that the standard playbook is broken because it assumes a lack of information, when the real barrier is an unconscious survival reflex.
We looked at the necessity of an upstream shift toward ontological adaptation, realizing that before you can change how someone works, you have to change how they relate to the concept of change itself.
And we walked through the 3-stage sequence required to actually execute that shift. Step 1, reflective agency. Finding the internal mirror.
pausing the gap between stimulus and response to notice your own somatic markers, moving from this is a threat to I am experiencing the feeling of a threat.
Step 2. Ontological intelligence. The rigorous, often uncomfortable self-honesty required to decouple your past traumas from the present reality, investigating whether your psychological immune system is attacking a genuine virus or just overreacting to foreign code.
And step 3, operational intelligence. The domain general superpower of holding that open, curious orientation in the live fire of a Monday morning crisis.
Ultimately, your success in navigating this transition, whether you are a junior analyst or a chief executive, does not depend on the technical manual. It depends entirely on your capacity to build a better operating system for your own mind.
Which leaves us with a deeply profound implication to consider as we wrap up. If operational intelligence is truly domain general, and if it is the ultimate deciding factor in whether a human being can survive and thrive alongside artificial intelligence,
then the most valuable professional skill of the next decade is not what we think it is.
no, it's not.
It isn't Python. It isn't prompt engineering. It isn't mastering the arcane features of whatever software drops next week.
The ultimate career skill, the only competency that will genuinely guarantee your resilience in an unrecognizable future, is simply the continuous disciplined ability to successfully redesign your own mind.
The tools will continue to change. The only constant variable you control is the orientation of the user.
You can't just rely on the old hardware anymore. You have to be willing to open up the machinery of your own perspective. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Takasugi Research Institute's work. We hope you take a moment today to step outside your automatic models, find that mirror, and spot the invisible frame dictating your reality. Stay curious, and we will see you next time.